And I'm going to start the meeting with roll call. John Hussey.
Here.
Jim Derorian is not here. Jim LeQueer.
Yes.
Ann LeQueer.
Yep.
Dalton Wagman.
Present.
Jennifer Eaton.
Here.
And Karen Hell is here. 1.3, topics unanticipated by the chair 48 hours in advance. I don't have any. Chair's report. I don't have anything today. 1.5, agents report.
I'll just carry on as we proceed here.
1.6, approve and release the meeting minutes for 1/6/21. Everybody read those and
Yes.
hey, can I get a motion to approve and release?
Motion to approve and release the minutes from January 6th,
Second?
2021.
Seconded.
That's okay. John Hussey, you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jim LeQueer, you in favor of this?
Yes.
Ann LeQueer, you in favor of this?
Yep.
Dalton
Yes.
Wagman, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
And I am in favor of this. All right, we have a 6:05 appointment at 6:13. I will open the hearing for DEP 308655. A notice of intent for Diane Silva / the Iodized Family Trust. The applicant is Ducharme and Roy for Diane Silva and the Iodized Family Trust. The location is 50 West Meadow. The project is to restore historic wetlands and grades within the buffer zone to a 3-to-1 slope. Project is located in ACEC and NHESP estimated rare habitats. They're filing under the Wetlands Protection Act and the local bylaw. And I'm going to throw to court to stand.
You want me to start?
I guess so.
Okay. After the last meeting and all the discussions we had prior to that Concom meeting and that conservation meeting, I went back and reworked a few things. And as of right now, what we're proposing is, if you look on the plan, there's a heavy line that's the work limits, which is what Natural Heritage asked for. And those, as I said in the last meeting, to outline where every piece of trash that needs to be removed is a kind of a moot point or an overly arduous task. So I outlined the areas where I believe the most trash is, and the vast majority of that is in Natural Heritage jurisdiction, but not in Concom jurisdiction. And then we took a look at that area in the back. That's the area that we've been discussing with the commission most. And after the last meeting, it was wasn't decided, but it was recommended by Fish and Game and Endangered Species that the leaving those lone piles there would not be a detriment to habitat, and could actually serve some habitat purposes. The one thing we're proposing is to remove that pile of graded rock that's out there, and it's not a natural feature, and it's not even a natural feature like a pile of loam could be considered. And I think we should get rid of it because doesn't belong there, and it'll make that wetland area that comes back be bigger and be less segmented. So I'd like to remove that pile of stone out of there. And then the other thing that we specified is restoring some of these dangerous slopes that the previous building commissioner had wanted fixed because they're dangerous. But the earth removal regulations in town only require a 2-to-1 slope. So we're saying restore them to a 2-to-1 slope. And that would take care of that area in the back that we're talking about. That's the most dangerous area. And then some of these other areas in a couple of these other pits that have some excessively steep slopes. The other thing that we're doing that's really out of the Concom jurisdiction, but the entrance road is now partly on what was created as Lot 1, and we're relocating that road so that it's completely on the parcel that Fish and Game will buy. And Fish and Game would like us to do that too, to make the access to the property obviously on the land that they own. And I'm showing a construction entrance there of crushed stone, of trap rock to clean tires of trucks when they come in and out and that kind of thing. So that's basically it. I think at the last meeting, in my mind, the consensus was that Fish and Game and Natural Heritage would actually prefer that we leave a lot of these slopes that are bare ground, if you will, leave them alone, and they will provide. They feel they'll provide better habitat for the endangered species than if we go ahead and try to restore them. And Gagnon brought up the point that to restore those areas, we more than likely have to bring in loam from offsite, and we really don't. And she was concerned that we really wouldn't know what kind of seed stuff and everything is in that loam. So that, with all that information from the last meeting, we modified the plan, and that's the plan that Dave has up on the screen. And those things that I outlined are the basic, the changes. So if anybody has any questions about those, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Anybody got any questions?
Yes. That truck access off of Middle Road, is there a drawing as far as how that's going to be installed?
Did you get the plan that I sent you?
Yeah.
I'm looking at it, Karen.
Yeah.
Got it right here. Is there any description of how that access is going to be installed?
Yeah, there's a detail right to the right of it that shows how it's installed. It's 8 inches.
Oh, I'm sorry.
8 inches of crushed stone, 12 feet wide, and it's spelled out on the plan, Jim, that it's 50 feet long.
Yeah, okay, I see it now. My fault.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions?
That's it.
Comments? Wow. Okay.
Karen, one real quick question. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Has Fish and Game discussed if it's going to be gated or it's going to be regular open access?
I have no idea. As far as I understand, it's going to be open access.
Okay, very good.
Because I think all the properties owned by Fish and Game, I think they actually have to have public access.
Which this opens up all that other back acreage they have now, finally.
Right. Yeah. It'll be a nice connection with all that conservation land there.
Absolutely.
Well, I gotta say, I'm not overly thrilled with the gravel removal part of this. The scope of the work has changed so much that I don't feel that it's necessary. I think it can all just stay there. If the loam pile's staying, that gravel pile can stay, and the only thing that needs to be done is the slopes regraded. And with that is such a minimal, that would be such a minimal impact that I don't think you would need to even put down the mats, because you would have an excavator going in, pulling and then going around those piles, pulling the slopes down, and then back out, and you would make 2 ruts, and I think 2 deeper ruts on a wetland would be beneficial. But that's.
Yeah, I just proposed it because it just, in my mind, it's not really something that belongs there. And I was just saying it would be nice to get rid of it, and it would make that wetland area a little bit bigger. But I'm not in disagreement that it's not going to hurt anything to leave it there. It just seems like it's kind of doesn't belong there.
Right. But I guess my big issue is that we don't allow earth removal in our jurisdiction. So.
Right now that isn't a wetland, or it hasn't been defined as a wetland, even though it's come back and it's growing wetland vegetation. So as of right now, with this plan, that we're not really calling that a wetland. We're calling that an area that's going to become a wetland. There's water there now, but that's because, well, there was the last time we were out there, but that's because they've excavated down to groundwater.
Right.
So, and the hope is that will, and it's starting to. So it's a little bit of a gray area whether we call that a wetland now or not. But I don't have a huge issue with leaving it there. I just, in my opinion, I just think it'd be better to be gotten out of there.
I know
a natural type.
I know they were saying that it doesn't create habitat for what they want habitat created for, but it will create habitat for snakes and other little slimy things like that. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's totally the commission's call. I don't think it's a make it or break it deal one way or the other with anybody, including Fish and Game. So I'd leave that open to discussion. I just think that it kind of doesn't belong there.
Well, it fits in with all the other rocks that are out there.
Well, but those aren't really. Those aren't in a buffer zone, so there's a little bit of a difference there. So I guess I'll leave that up to the commission to discuss and decide.
If I could comment on this.
Please.
I have to agree with the chair, and there's an awful lot of stuff on that property that doesn't belong there.
I will not disagree with that.
So with that said, in my opinion, it's a moot point, and they don't need to remove that. They don't want to have the loom pile moved. What's the point in having the gravel pile moved? It's Fish and Game. It's not fish and turtle. So they have to kind of think about everything. The deer, the bears, the dinosaurs. They all need to be thought about.
So I mean, that would be. I don't see why that wouldn't be acceptable to leave that there. And then I agree with Karen. Then to go in and fix the slopes is it's kind of a one-shot deal. You go in there with a machine and flatten it out, and you're done. And you don't have to get a truck in there to haul that stuff out of there and everything like that. And you wouldn't have to repair that area when you do it.
By doing that, there would be less of an impact.
Right. That's my thought.
Wouldn't it? It would be much less of an impact if that were done. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And actually, the excavator would leave some slightly deeper impressions that would hold more water. So
right.
That's kind of a benefit, in my opinion. But,
I agree.
And it's, you're not going to trample too many plants. I mean, you're going to squish them down, but the roots are still there. They're going to come right back.
Right.
Yep.
That's fine. I mean, if that gets us to the goal line, I think that's more my opinion than anything else. So, and it's less. I think that maybe the applicant was going to use some of that money to fund some of the work, but it's less work that they have to do now. So it's kind of a wash too. So.
And once again, less disruption up there at this point in time is all the better with the amount of, removal and disruption that's going on all along. So I think less done, better off.
Done. I'll agree to that.
Dave, do you have anything? You still there?
No, I'm right here. I'm just listening to what the commissioners have to say as well as Stan. No, I'll just sit and listen, and you guys, carry on and decide how you want to approach this. I have the order of conditions prepared. The special order was sent out to you along with the minutes, as well as some other detail on the 16th.
I've gotten only a handful of responses regarding the order. There's one item in there that I will strike. It is on page 4, part 2, page 4, item number F. I stated in there in advance of this meeting, the gravel mound composed of 426 cubic yards is permitted to be accessed. Construction mats for access to the gravel site must be placed in advance of any work. The conservation agent must be notified in advance of material type of mats to be used and the day it will be placed. So having said that on the 16th and had sent it out to you folks, I will strike that, assuming the commission proceeds with the vote stating that they would prefer to have that 426 cubic feet stay.
We need a motion?
Not yet, unless we're ready to make a decision. Although, do we want to read some of these special conditions, or is that the only,
Yeah, I'd be happy to go through it. I'd be happy to go through it.
I don't see, we could probably, well, I don't know. Yeah, if you want to, I think we should probably do that. Well, actually, should we first vote to either approve or deny and then go through the
The
order?
presumption that we're both making is that everyone's read this. So if we take a motion and close this out, we still have to have an opportunity, though, based on what you're saying, to present some of these special conditions that are spelled out.
Right.
So if you'd like me to go through those that are not ordinary under a standard order of conditions, I'd be more than happy to.
I think, in my opinion, I think that would be a very good idea. They would also,
Agreed.
I would also put it on record, and I think we need to do that.
I'd be happy
Agreed.
to do that. So if I can just take a moment, it shouldn't take too long because nothing really, there's only a handful of things that are out of the ordinary. No fertilization of any wetland resource area is allowed. No pesticides or herbicides are allowed within a wetland resource area or within 100 feet of a wetland resource area.
Can I question that just a little bit?
Sure.
What about the control of invasive species?
Well, if you want to make that a condition of the order,
I mean, I haven't seen Fish and Wildlife do anything like that. I wish they would on certain properties, but
what are you referring to? I'm sorry.
to pesticide, I mean, not pesticide, but herbicides for the control of invasive species,
Yeah.
because that would prevent that. That order would prevent them doing that, would it not?
It would.
Or you could just say, with the exception of control of invasive species.
So I'm just thinking out loud. I'm sorry.
That's a good one. I like it.
So Karen, you're referring to if we had an outgoing of some Phragmites out there, we would have the ability to treat it instead of this border?
We would not be doing that. Fish and Wildlife would be doing that, but they would have to come before the board and get permission to do that in a wetland or in our jurisdiction. And this would allow us to do that.
That makes good sense since we do have a big outcrop still going on at the bottom of the hill. So that does, good point.
Aaron, could you repeat what you had said so that when we get to the order, we have language for it, if you happen to write it down? I tried to write down it.
It was actually Stan that made the comment.
Stan, okay.
Except for the herbicide use for control of invasive species.
And you're right, they've got to come back to us if they're in a resource area with an NOI.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And like Karen said, there's the opportunity for the state to step up and try to rectify any of the invasive species is slim and none, but we don't want them to lean on our order of conditions to stop anything from happening that would be in the best interest of the environment.
Well said.
Now that I interrupted you, Dave, sorry.
No, that was good. That was a very resourceful thought. All right, let me carry on if I could here. Underground storage of petroleum products is prohibited within a wetland resource area and within 100 feet of the buffer zone of a resource area. That's pretty standard. No coal-based driveway seating may be applied to any area draining into an upland or a wetland resource area on the property. If any loam for regrading is used, it must be used from those stockpiles on site and within the immediate proximity of the resource area. No loam or fill will be imported. The regraded areas are part of the plan design. They are on record with the commission. The applicant is held responsible for the compliance with this order of condition. The Townsend Conservation Commission shall be notified in writing within 48 hours of any transfers of title on this property. Members and agents of Townsend Conservation Commission shall have the right to enter and inspect the property to evaluate the compliance of these orders as stated. There shall be no disturbance beyond the limits of work permitted on this order. And you can see we have the limits of work defined. All contractors and their assigned contractors must contact the conservation agent in advance of any work. Additionally, a list of contractors must be available in advance of any work started. All contractors and subcontractors must be licensed for the type of work that they are hired to complete. Just a couple more here. This order does not relieve the permittee or any other person of the necessity of complying with any other applicable federal, state, or local statutes, ordinances, bylaws, or regulations. And those are the predominant ones. I guess one last one I have here is, which is reasonably typical. No spoils of construction material or equipment shall be stored, placed, or operated in the wetland resource areas or the wetland buffer zone, except as may be permitted by this order for work in the buffer zone and upland resource areas. So there you go. And this is what would be attached to the standard notice of intent. And obviously I would need a quorum signature on this.
Right. Okay. So everybody understands what we're going to call specials?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the notice of intent for Diane Silva / Iodized Family Trust, DEP file number 308655.
So moved. Whoops.
And then, no, that's all right. I was going to say with the special orders.
You may want to mention the items in particular, Karen.
The items in particular, which would be?
The removal of that part 2,
I got too many
paragraph
papers.
F. Paragraph F. Which
Okay, we're going to strike paragraph
strike
F.
right, out of part 2.
part 2, and add in the allowance for herbicides for invasive species. And I think that was the only other change.
That's what I had heard, yes.
Okay. So yes, can I get a motion with those specials, one added and one deleted?
So move.
And can I get a second?
Seconded.
All right, John Hussey, you in favor of this?
I am.
Jim DeRorian, you cannot vote on this, I'm sorry. Jim LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Ann LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Dalton Wegman, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Okay. Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
And I, Karen Hill.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. So, can I get a motion to close DEP 308-655?
So move.
And can I get a second?
Seconded.
Second.
Okay, John Hussey, in favor of this?
I am.
I can't read my own writing. Jim LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Ann LaQueer?
Yes.
Dalton Wegman, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
And I, Karen Hill, in favor of this. Well, Stan.
2 years and we end up doing nothing. All right, well,
Do without continuing this.
so,
It's going to be different, Stan?
I know. Well, thank you. I guess the outcome is what everybody ultimately wants and the buyers of the property want, so it's all good.
Yes.
Thank you for your patience on this.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
Thanks, Stan. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Stan.
Have a
You're
good
welcome.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. I don't know, I feel it's such a, it's like a moment.
A moment. It is.
It's a moment.
Better and different, yeah.
We all have moments.
Wow. I'm sorry. It's just,
That's okay.
Movement, I guess.
stop. Okay. So now we are down to 3.0. Which is 3.1, letter from Conservation Commission in support of the Squanicook Rail Trail for Mass Trails Grant. Dave sent that out to everybody. Did everyone get a chance to read it?
I read it quickly.
They're looking for our endorsement so they can apply for a grant. Do we have to physically sign this, Dave, or is this?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, so can I get a motion? Well, does anybody want to discuss this? I mean, no?
Sure.
Here's the here's the letter real quick.
Okay.
Would you like me to read it or just let it go?
I think we could just let it go.
Okay.
Let it go. Anyway, sorry. So that being said, can I get a motion to send this out to the Squanicook Rail Trail?
I would make
I
a
moved.
Who is that?
Me. So moved. Ann.
Okay. Can I get a second?
second.
Seconded.
Okay. John Hussey, are you in favor of that? Jim DeRorian, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jim LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Ann LaQueer, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Dalton
Yes.
Wegman, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of this?
Yes.
And I, Karen Hill, in favor of this. Great. Hopefully they get their grant. 3.2, discuss and/or vote excessive absence provision, section 710 of the town's charter to declare the position occupied by James Dorian vacant. I put this back on because when it was on the agenda last time, I didn't allow a discussion, and you all have a right to discuss this if you want to discuss it. So that's why I put it back on. If anyone wants to discuss this, we'll discuss it. If not, we'll just pass on it again. So that's why it's back on the agenda. Does anybody want to discuss this?
What are you looking into when you want a discussion on this, Karen?
Well, it was on the agenda last meeting to discuss this, particularly if Jim Dorian didn't show up, which he did, and he's still here. But is there anything anyone wants to say about it?
I think we should have some guideline, some reference point where if you're not calling in and telling us why you can't attend the meeting, that there is a number of meetings, if you're absent, you're going to be off the commission. This is an important position for all of us.
Agreed.
We assist people in making their lives go, and we've got to have responsible, dependable people.
And please note that there are extenuating circumstances where people will miss meetings. Those happen in life.
Right. Agreed. Anybody else? Okay. So I don't think we need a vote of anything. We could choose to vote.
Madam Chair, can I make a comment? Now that we've exposed it to everybody, I think we should table this for a meeting or two so we can get our thoughts together on the time frame that we'd like to in place and get this in more of a professional fashion.
Okay.
So can we table it
So do we all?
or 2 meetings?
We can do
So we
that.
can all put our thoughts on it?
Sure.
Okay.
Does everybody else in agreement of just, seeing where this goes for two meetings? So that'd be March. We're looking at March.
So are you talking about like a probationary period, or are we revisiting the subject, or how do you mean?
Absentees.
I think it's kind of both.
Okay.
Am I understanding that correctly? That you want it to be something that we bring up in March to make sure that we don't have to vote on this again?
Correct.
Yes.
I think that would be the proper way to handle that, Madam Chairman.
Okay.
I would just, I'd like to make one comment. A lot of times people have personal issues that get kind of combined with other personal issues. It's happened way back on when the commission was a completely different complexion. I just, if you're tired of doing what it is that we're doing, then people should bow out and say, look, thank you. That happened with our past chairman. He just got to the end of his rope and he let it go. With regard to Mr. Dorian, he's back in the fold and he's doing very well to make sure that he does love this. He's a longstanding member, and he's indicated to me that he's very much wants to be back and be a part of what it is that's keeping the environment correct. So that's all I have to say. If the absenteeism for anyone gets overwhelming and doesn't have viable excuses for it, then it's our duty to move forward. But I don't believe that's the case right now. Could it come back? I don't know. I don't have a magic wand or a crystal ball, but I do know that it is what it is. That's all I have to say. If someone's been on for an awful long time and their love for it is still there, who are we to deny them? But that's all.
Karen, can we ask Jim for comment?
Yes, as long as Jim wants to.
I mean, as far as what would you like for a comment? I mean, it's almost 12 years that I've, been on the commission. I've had to try to balance that between agriculture and still working at UPS full time. I was in really good shape as far as to get to my meetings, but to be quite honest with you, I ran into some pretty serious health issues that really drew me away from this. It wasn't a matter that I did not want to be here. It was, kind of involved, and there was a lot of dynamics to it. So now that I can, I'm in a better place, as best that I could say. I'm here. I want to reacclimate myself. I don't think I'm too far off the mark as far as, where we are in the commission, what's going on in town, et cetera, et cetera. But I mean, yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, Dalton, with the question, what would be my comment? And it should be that, yeah, I want to be, involved in it, and I want to be able to move forward with it. And I can't, how do you apologize for situations that bestow you in life? It is what it is. But I'm here, I'm work through stuff. I have taken the time to get the computer. I'm almost done with everything and completed. So, I mean, with that, moving forward, I'm here and I will be in good consistency.
Yeah, so I wasn't looking for you to apologize. I just wanted you, to have a chance to speak and not be spoken to like you're not in the room.
No,
I thought that'd be fair. And call me a little bit selfish too, but you're one of the elders in our community, and I think we're a much stronger commission if you are here. And I think that your opinions are valuable. You grew up here, right? This is your town.
Indeed.
So.
Well stated, Dalton.
Okay.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
I'd like to bring up a point of contention with this. I don't think we're pointing the finger directly at Jim in any fashion. I think what we're looking for is the future of the commission. So the commission can make some determination on absentee tolerances or courtesy calls. It's not to pick on Jim DeRoy or anybody else on the commission, but this is to go forward and knowing that we are committed to being responsible on a conservation commission. And if we can't make the meeting, 1 or 2 is okay, but a courtesy call as to why you're absent and what's going on. I think that's more pertinent than trying to go back in time right now.
Agreed. And, this is one of those things in this age of COVID, and we're all doing everything online. A quick email back is, acceptable too. I can't make it tonight or whatever. That's perfectly acceptable. So with that being said,
I could make one more statement.
Sure.
I agree with Jim LeQuier. A phone call or an email is always a good thing to do if you can. And, the town charter does outline, how absenteeism should be handled. However, as a board, we know, I believe we have the ability to examine situations and then move forward in our own way. It doesn't have to be cut and dry and by the rules all the time, because there are always extenuating circumstances. We're all getting older. I know I'm not, but most of you guys are.
Must be that pond water.
But yeah, so, we have to handle it with a heart and a head. And
correct.
And I believe that's what we've done. I
couldn't agree with you more, Karen. I believe we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that statement.
Okay, that having been said, so are we through discussing this? And we can bring it back up in March if we want to. Is that the consensus? Or, I mean, we can put it back on the agenda every freaking month and just have this discussion. It doesn't matter to me.
No.
I think we're good. I think we're good with that things right now.
I agree with Ann. I believe we are good.
Okay.
I don't think we need to be looking at it every other week.
No,
All right.
I agree.
I don't think I need a vote on that, do I, Dave? You still there?
Yes, I am. No, you don't need to.
I didn't think so. Okay, 3.3, discuss trail maintenance options, Meeting House Park, and, what's this, flash vote, Doodle Poll?
Yeah.
You, Dave.
That is me. So the town is applying, or I should back up, the town is thinking about applying for a grant through Mass Trails, and they deferred it because the application date was February 1st. However, having said that, Jen and I were on a Zoom conference call with several other folks from town staff principally. And we were just thinking about ways in which and where funds could be, and how funds could be obtained through the grant and how they would be used. The long and the short of this, though, at least for the time being, because there's nothing pressing us to make a decision on anything for certainly the next couple of weeks, if you even want to call it pressing. But I had suggested during this one discussion that we had on Zoom, I believe it was last week, last Tuesday, Jen, no? And I suggested we do a doodle poll or a flash vote to get the community involved in terms of what they would like to see with our open space and with conservation land that the town controls or owns, and that would include CRs that have the provision to allow the public on them. With COVID it's closing in on 12 months now. I know that I've seen, and you probably have as well, an extraordinary increase in the use of conservation lands. And land stewardship at some point should be brought back to the table in terms of what our obligation is as a commission and whether or not we should get a subcommittee involved with land stewardship or continue to work with residents to assist us voluntarily to help us with stewardship of the properties. I understand in the past that we've used the Boy Scouts and other youth groups, I believe.
Yes.
But the long and the short of it is, with your agreement, I'd like to be able to put together this doodle poll to see, how our trails are being used, how our open space is being used, and I want to get contributions not only from you folks but other departments as well. Recreation was on the call. Jen was on the call, and there was a new person who was just hired for rec, I believe, who was on the call, and Veronica sponsored it, Veronica Kell. And this had to do with the three different grant proposals that the town is looking at. Perhaps it's four. Was it four, Jen, or was it three?
It's four.
It's four. It's four. And
I think one of them was a Squanicook
Rail Trip.
Wild and Scenic.
Right.
It's Wild and Scenic. It's the TIP, the Wild and Scenic. I forget, Streets and Places.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
And then Mass Trails.
And we had talked about, the support letter we went through minutes ago for the Greenways folks. This is separate and distinct. This is something that the town will be applying for. The Mass Trails grant will be applying for. I think the next cycle starts in June.
November
perhaps.
1st.
Oh, is it November 1st?
I think the deadline is November 1st, and they extended it this year to February. But for when the grant would be, when we would be applying for it would be November 1st, 2021.
So there's a lot of time here then.
There's a lot of time.
Okay.
The one that there is not a lot of time for is the Wild and Scenic, which wouldn't, that one applies to, I think it's Adams Dam.
Yeah. But that's only $5,000. I mean, you're not going to get much done with $5,000 for Adams Dam. So.
Well, nonetheless, though, we have, some of these grant opportunities, and it's really not up to us as a commission to decide, how that money is going to be used. If you have suggestions, certainly, submit them like the public would do anyway. I'm not sure what kind of responses we've gotten. So yeah, there you go. Doodle poll, see what the folks out, in town feel about their open space and their conservation lands. Distribute that information internally to other staff members, and if other commissions or planning folks want to get involved with this, that'd be great. The goal is to put it on our brand new website, which should be up and running in about 2 weeks, so that people can access it there. It would be very simple. So that's all I have on that for now.
I'd like to say that is on the town's YouTube channel, that meeting. I watched like the last 10 or 15 minutes of it. It was in the very long one that was a week before, where Veronica was talking about all 4 grants. Even though it was long, it was very interesting. So there's a lot of things that the town can access for our open spaces if we just apply for it and come up with, a use for the monies so we can apply for it. But thank you for participating in that meeting, both you and Jen.
Yeah, no, it was very informative.
Yeah, and I actually have a list I can share with you of grants that was sent to me by Emmy Hoff in Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, why don't you send that off to us?
Okay.
Send it off to me and I'll distribute it.
Yeah, send it to Dave so he can send it to everybody, because you can't send it to everybody, Dave can.
Okay.
Thus agents.
Yes. All right, so we're at 4.0, correspondence. 4.1 is the Mass Trails Grant brochure, which we just kind of discussed. 4.2, Planning Board, memo from the Planning Board about 60 Warren Road. It's a cell tower site plan review and renewal special permit. It's not in jurisdiction, but we always get these things from them, and that's all it is they're letting us know that they're trying to renew a special permit. 5.0, items for discussion at the next meeting. Do we have anything?
We're going to discuss the absentee days, or
we're going to, that's
just
done.
going to let that go? Okay.
Yes.
Anything else?
There's nothing pressing right now, no. There's nothing even in the background. No NOIs, no RDAs. It's
Almost like we've done a good job, right?
Yeah, scary. Okay, 6.0, advertisements and conferences. I don't have any. Do you have any, Dave?
No, none. I did send out.
Oh,
go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
I would just like to say that yesterday I attended the day 1 of the invasive species at UMass Extension, and it was awesome.
Really?
now you can archive. They archive those, so you can go back and relook at it.
Yeah.
If you have a chance to do that, I completely forgot about it. Luckily, I didn't sign up for it.
It's 4 Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Was that the one I sent you folks, the free one?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. So it was a spotted. No, it was worms, right? The earthworms.
Worms.
Yeah.
European worms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My wife signed up for it. I watched the better part of it, but my name isn't on any of it. She has her restricted use chemical license, so she needs credits. So her and my daughter both.
You had to answer those poll questions.
Yeah.
Some of the poll questions were nuts, but there's a little small beetle also, I forget the name of it, that is very invasive. But they touched on the longhorn. They touched on the European earthworm. And
It's actually the Asian snake worm.
yeah,
Oh, boy.
Jumping worm.
yeah.
Nice.
They leave behind a byproduct that's similar to coffee grounds, apparently, right?
Castings, yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Interesting.
good way to put it.
I'm sure they're all over my yard. My lawn, it's written all over my lawn.
Really?
Oh, I see the birds pull them out. That has to be what it is.
Well, either that or
It could just be regular worm.
Another thing that they touched on was the emerald borer.
Emery
Yeah.
Borer.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one I was, yeah,
And there was actually,
very, very small.
there was a couple of other things to look out for that have made their way to like New York, New Jersey, but are on their way here. One is oak wilt caused by a fungus, and southern pine beetle.
Yeah.
And they mostly attack pitch pine. So that's what I learned.
Fine, yeah.
You learned a lot.
I'll say.
I went from knowing nothing about something to knowing way too much.
Our resident expert.
But that's a good thing about these programs. They're archived, so you can go back and look at them.
Yeah, they're
So-
great.
Yeah. And again, they're always good. UMass does a great job with these things, so can't say enough. Of course, alma mater. But anyway, so 7.0, next meeting is tentatively February 10th, 2021 at 6 p.m. And this brings us to 8.0, that magical part of the night.
Would you like a motion to adjourn?
Only if you'd like to adjourn.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Can I get a second?
Seconded.
So if I,
Yes?
just one
What?
quick thing. The order has to be signed, so I'll put that together, pull that together tomorrow. So hopefully by Monday, I can get this all to Stan.
Okay. Okay.
So
So
that
you're
means,
looking-
John, we have Dalton, Jen, liqueurs are down in Florida. Can Jim sign it?
I don't think so. We
I don't
got
think so either. So we have a quorum then. We have
yeah,
Dalton, Jen, John, and yourself.
right. So we're good.
You can mail it to
So I'll
us
be
and
looking-
we can send it
No,
back.
it has to be, no, I think we'll just continue with the commissioners that are available because this has to be submitted in 21 days. And I just don't want to depend on the mail traffic at all. So we're good to go.
I don't blame you.
So
Yep, I don't
I'll
blame
be
you.
looking. I'll be looking for you this weekend, people. If Dave gets that ready.
Karen, quick question. The reason why I'm not signing off on this was the meetings missed.
Yes.
Lack of knowledge to the whole property and what's going on with it.
It's because of the meetings that you missed. You missed like a year and a half's worth of this. That's the only reason why.
Oh, no.
It's not that you don't have knowledge of it, because you certainly do, but it's the legal
Yeah,
junk.
notification.
Okay.
So,
Now, unless I hit Mega Millions, I'll be around over the weekend.
okay.
Yeah.
So that being
That's my
said, we have a
ticket.
motion and it's been seconded. So, can I get a vote on this? John Hussey, are you in favor of adjourning?
I am.
And let me get the time right. It's 7:05. Okay. Jim DeRorian, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Jim LeQueer, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Ann LeQueer, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes. Yes.
Dalton Wegman, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
Jennifer Eaton, are you in favor of adjourning?
Yes.
And I, Karen Hill, am in favor of adjourning. Thank you, people. We had a good meeting.